This week in news, Blizzard announced a new game. Activision tries to bust Ravensoft's union. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is making a movie. EA's Respawn getting to make 3 more Star Wars games. Extra, hear all about it.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the briefing room. I, of course, am Dean. You know me well. And joining me today is Landen. How are you, Landen?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I'm well rested and well napped.
Yeah, this is actually a big episode for me personally. I was a guest on another podcast back in 2017, and I was being interviewed or whatever in that podcast. And then I did 2 podcasts based on Genlock on youtube.com/thebriefing-room. And, but then, HBO took over Genlock from Rooster Teeth. And HBO started, striking down Genlock content on YouTube, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna fuck with that. So, I've only ever done 3 podcasts, episodes, period. And so, before this podcast. So this podcast, I've now matched my total podcasts that I've done before it.
Gotta pump them numbers up.
Yeah.
This is my highest number as well. My first podcast I have ever been on, and I love being on it. A lot of fun doing this.
My passion is entertainment, so I just love making content in general. I'm not a big fan of the editing or anything else that goes into making content, but making it I love.
Yeah, editing is a bitch.
Yeah, it sure is. So yeah, that's the exciting thing for me. And we got some big stories today as well. I got my cup of yerba mate and I'm ready to go.
You get all fancy over here. I just got a water bottle.
I was looking into, back in the day I tried coffee when I was younger, and I was like, and so I was looking into getting into coffee again because, I don't have the energy waking up that I used to. And during research, I was like, man, coffee, the caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours. So every cup you drink is going to be in your body, of anything caffeinated, is going to be in your body for 10 to 14 hours. And so the way coffee is distributed, it's distributed very quickly, but it still remains the caffeine is still there and is affecting your body. So you're only getting that temporary boost, but you're getting all the negatives throughout, a longer span. Yerba mate is it's a type of green tea, and it actually spreads the caffeine, the energy out over a longer period of time, so you don't have that, you don't need as many cups because it lasts longer. Getting to the stories.
What's number 1? What do you got?
Number 1 is Blizzard announced a new game. It is a survival game. It is currently untitled. Actually, I think I saw, if you go to the website, on the website, it's called Untitled Survival Game, which I love. I think they should just keep that the title.
Untitled Survival Game. Survival game has my interests, and it's not every day that Blizzard announces a new game. And when they announce a new game, it's a big deal. Although part of this announcement is also them doing a casting call for, bringing in new developers and new management and a new crew. So I'm sure this is very early on.
Yeah, it's early on, and that's something I saw recently. People were talking about games are getting announced a lot sooner than they used to, and it's because they need help finding people. And then people are like, it's, the COVID and, they keep giving reasons. And I have yet to see someone bring up the fact that it's not only that, it's game developers are asked to work 100-hour work weeks with no overtime pay, and they get, you get stuff with Activision, which we're going to get into today too, where, people are being mistreated. You have Riot, managers, that story several years ago where they were farting on their employees, and I think spitting was part of it too, something like that.
Wow.
So you're getting all these hours unpaid, you're being treated like that, and then when the game is done, you just get canned, and you're looking for a new job. Of course you're going to have struggle finding people to work these games.
Yeah, you gotta treat them with respect, give them the time they need to make the game. Like what I said before, the longer you take, the more time and structure you give these people, the better their mental state will be, and the better the mental state will be, the better the video game will be.
Yeah.
So give them their space, give them their time, and don't harass them.
Yeah. So that's what I think is funny is that they, people were talking about, they're constantly looking for employees. There's like an employee shortage, and it's like, well, it's kind of partially self-enforced. And it should be noted also that this new survival game is an all-new universe unrelated to, Overwatch or, World of Warcraft or anything like that.
Any other Blizzard IP.
Yeah.
But I did see here that it says that it's also coming to PC and console.
Yes.
So that's interesting. They're not normally used to straight to console. I mean, Overwatch I think came straight to console, but it's not every day that happens.
The funny thing about Overwatch is the first console it was announced for was the fucking Switch, which has infamously bad online play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in it because I'm like, what is this style? Because there's multiple survival game styles. There's the sandbox, like a Minecraft style. There is, there's, I don't think it's survival horror because they would have said survival horror, but, there's that style. There's a game, and I'm drawing a blank on what it's called, but it's almost a roguelike survival style.
Tarkov?
Something like that, yeah. So what is the type of survival it's gonna be?
What does survival mean when it comes to Blizzard, and what uniqueness can they bring to that genre of a video game? It'll be interesting to see.
It will be interesting to see.
Their games take a long time to make. Blizzard takes their sweet time on these things. I'm sure it's a while off.
Yeah, and like you said, they're looking for developers, so that certainly isn't helping the outlook of the time frame for this game.
Good indicator that this is very early on.
It could be worse. It could be like factions where they're like, hey, we're making a multiplayer for Last of Us 2. Actually, it's going to release separately from Last of Us 2. And then 2 years later, oh, by the way, we're looking for developers to help with the development of multiplayer for Last of Us.
Yeah.
It's like, haven't you been working on that for 2 years?
What have you been doing?
Alright, so it's kind of a short discussion because it's kind of a story that we don't have a lot of information on. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next story, which is probably the biggest, meaty of the stories we have on the docket today. I have it listed as Activision tries to bust Raven Soft Union. So this entire story has happened outside of this podcast. So I'm going to go through the whole story, from start to end of what's happened for context for any listeners that didn't see this story before. But 7 weeks ago, 20 Activision Blizzard employees were fired, and 13 of those 20 were Ravensoft QA testers. And the reason this was a big deal, at least on the Ravensoft side, is Ravensoft were working on Warzone, which is still currently being made. It's an ongoing service game. And contracts usually, now I can't speak for this specific contract that they had, but usually contracts are for games, which I mentioned earlier. You work on a game and then kind of canned and having to find a new job. It's because they make contracts on a game-to-game basis. So that's why it was so surprising to these employees, is they were still working on the game they were contracted for. So the whole Ravensoft QA team went on a 7-week strike. And so that was what was going on when we first did our first 2 episodes. And the day after we recorded our last episode, we recorded on the 20th. This happened on the 21st. 34 of the QA team announced that they had formed a union and were going back to work. And that union is being called the Game Workers Alliance. So, in order to be legally recognized, yes, they've formed the union and they're back to work, but legally to be recognized, they have to hold elections for the different offices for, the unions, because obviously a union has a treasurer, it has, a president, so they have to hold elections for all those offices. And they have to file with the National Labor Relations Board, or NLRB. And for that part, the National Labor Relations Board, the unionized employees have to be categorized together, which is where this story comes in. I can't remember if I think it was yesterday or the day before. Activision announced that it was reorganizing the QA department. So instead of the entire QA department being its own department and being, just testing the game in general, the QA testers are being split different departments. So they have, the assets QA team, which, tests the balancing of the guns. You have the level QA testers, which are making sure you don't clip through a wall and fall, to your death or whatever. So they're being split up like that, which will make it difficult for the NLRB to approve them because they are in different departments. They can still make the argument they have the same job title, but being in different departments now makes that tougher to do. And that's about it for what I have for the meat of that. So
it's a good bit of meat, but much needed meat, and it just shows that Activision, even though they're underneath the potential buy from Microsoft, they're still evil to their core, and when there's one step moving forward, they try to do whatever they can to make sure they go a couple steps back. It sucks that they're splitting them up like that. Hopefully, whenever Microsoft actually swoops in, they can actually pick these people up off their feet and show them that they're in a safe place.
Yeah, so QA is actually an interesting story for me because I briefly mentioned it in the first episode, and I think I briefly mentioned it in the second episode too, so this is 3 for 3 now. When I went to school, I started realizing the shitty things in the gaming industry, so when my now wife got pregnant, it was the perfect excuse for me to, drop out of school for video game design and try to find a new career path. One of the first indications I had was we were in a class, and it was I was taking it all online. So in the chat, someone had mentioned, they enjoy the programming side or whatever of the game. But how cool would it be to actually play the games for a living? Be a QA tester, essentially. And the teacher was like, all you would do is run into walls, run into the same wall 40 times and report how many times you fall through. It's a shit job for shit people. And it's like, yeah, I was like, what? Whoa, like, that's a bit aggressive. Like, yeah, it doesn't sound like it. It definitely is not what we'd imagine, Oh, I get to play the game, You're not actually really playing the game. You're doing all these tasks, sure. But they're making sure that your game is the best it can be, and that any mistakes don't get to the consumer. They don't fall through the cracks. And so for you to say, it's for dog shit people, it's like, that's insulting, for,
it's hardcore.
Yeah. And it might also be partly why you, going back to, you treat your employees better, you get better results. That might be why we've had so many glitchy games, is QA testers are treated like that. That's the view, in the industry. Maybe not by everyone, but definitely by upper management, that's the view. And you get that they're going to miss some things because they're being treated like that, and we're getting glitchy games.
Yeah, they're not voluntarily recognizing Raven's union they made. It's not right. It's like accepting something without doing any of the actual steps that it takes to acknowledge it. Like you said, you acknowledged it verbally, but you also still have to implement it, and they're not implementing anything.
Yeah. It's not a good situation. And as far as the Microsoft side, I should note, I believe they asked Phil Spencer. They could have asked one of the other higher ups at Xbox, but someone was asked at Xbox about, this unionization effort going on at Ravensoft and how Microsoft would handle it. And I think it was Phil Spencer, because this is quite frank. He was like, we really haven't dealt with any unions, so I can't speak to that right now. So we don't know if, how Microsoft would handle this situation either, but I doubt it would be as poorly as Activision has handled it in general.
Yeah, it might not be union friendly, but I'm sure Microsoft would make sure that they are comfortable in getting what the things that they were looking for in the first place. Whether it may not be through union, but I'm sure Microsoft will be willing to help and not make them feel so miserable as Activision definitely has to many, many, many of their studios.
Now, the Ravensoft QA testers said regardless of Microsoft, they were planning on moving forward with unionization, so they would have to deal with the union either way. But yeah, it's just kind of the timing of it. Like, that's the argument there, is like Activision saying they've been working on it for, this reorganization for months, but it just so happened to be announced a couple days after a union was formed and was in the process of being legally recognized. Seems kind of suspicious.
I agree.
Anyway, that was the meaty one.
Is a downer.
It's definitely a downer.
But it's good to talk about and get it out there. More knowledge on this is better. Like, these guys need more people on their side. So,
yeah. So, we're gonna, it was a downer. It was meaty. But there you go. That's the story. So we're gonna have a little bit of a palate cleanser, you know? Sometimes you have a meal that's kind of rough on your taste buds, and you just need that little something to kind of make it better.
Little something.
Little something. So let's discuss. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is making another video game movie. So he, he said that he can't say which one. Obviously, there's NDAs involved, so I understand that. I doubt he actually was supposed to say he was working on the thing anyway, regardless of whether he named what it was or not.
He said he's been playing the game for the last few years.
Yes.
And it's badass. His words. It's badass.
Yeah, biggest, most badass.
As to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, has my brain. The wheels are spinning. The hamster is running. Because something that's badass to The Rock, probably like dark and grungy, and him being like probably the lead, and I have my assumptions. I'll let you go, but I have my assumptions of what it is. I have a most likely, and then what I want it to be. Both I think are possible.
I should note, I said another video game movie. He did make Rampage and Doom. So he's not unfamiliar with video game movies.
He's familiar with bad ones, that's for sure.
So, my thinking is, he did say biggest, most badass, but hear me out. So, in the Mario movie, they got an all-star cast, right? Mm-hmm. And it's people that are currently just the biggest and best, out there. You have,
Jack Black, you have Seth Rogen.
Yep, you have Chris Pratt, you have Anya Taylor-Joy,
Charlie Day.
So you got some really big names in there. So what if Nintendo continues their tradition and going with the biggest and most badass? I don't know that I can with Nintendo necessarily, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Link in a Legend of Zelda movie.
What? What? No way. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I would pay for that. There's no doubt I would pay for that movie. It would probably be trash. There'd be so many upset fans if this was legit. And no. There'd be so much hate. But I would go watch it for sure.
Oh yeah. As far as going with his biggest, most badass, that's a tough one because there's a lot of games out there. We know it's not Halo because they're making a TV show. I know another former wrestler has been really wanting
Gears of War. Are you about to say Gears of War, dude? Yes, I think it could be Gears of War. I think it could be Gears of War, and maybe Batista does get a role, not the lead, but a role.
Could you imagine The Rock and Batista being on like the same team in a Gears of War movie?
That sounds amazing. That sounds much like a bro, badass, give me that movie. I'm about that. I think it could potentially actually be a Gears of War movie. They've shown that they have been trying to make a Gears of War movie, and when Batista showed that he wanted to be in the Gears of War movie, he went and talked to the people that were making it, and it seemed like it was more of a real thing than ever when he was actually trying to talk to the studios behind the movie. I could see it being that. But what I honestly think it is, what I like most likely is the biggest, most badass, the video game. Probably something he could play with his kids, something he can play with his nephews. Fortnite. He's in Fortnite right now. Fortnite is supposed to be making a movie. Yeah. It's the biggest game in the world. I don't care how many people hate it. It's the biggest game in the world, right next to probably GTA. But I could see it most likely being a Fortnite movie with The Rock.
It's the biggest. I wouldn't call it the most badass, though. That's where
his words, though. His words.
Yeah, I guess. He did say he's been playing it for years.
And Fortnite's been out for about, 5-6 years now?
It's going on 5 years, I believe.
So, I mean, it could line up.
Yeah, I would also say I've seen a lot of people posting photoshops of him as Kratos.
Oh.
That would be an interesting one.
No, see, the thing is I don't want super celebrities being these people. Like, just animate the person in a live-action movie if you have to, and then use the real voice of these games, because that's what's going to make me happy.
Yeah. So here's... So because I've seen photoshops of him as Kratos, which is fine, whatever, I want to see him photoshopped with Marcus Phoenix's goatee. I want to see that Photoshop. Where's that Photoshop at?
How well it fits in?
So
not so well, honestly. But I mean, I could see it being, either Gears of War or Zelda, potentially Zelda. Sure.
And then also Dave Bautista. I want to see a Photoshop of him with Dom's hair.
Yeah. And I'd watch that movie. And I'm a super a huge Gears of War fan. So to see those two brutes in such a brute video game where it's all about muscles and chainsaws and blood and guts, like those two would fit perfectly.
Now they did recently reboot the Doom games, so I wonder if they would do a Doom movie reboot with The Rock again.
Okay, that's what he said last few years. That could be Doom and the Doom Returnal. I mean, Doom is more popular than it's probably ever been, I would say.
Yeah. Because Returnal came out in 2020 or 2019.
Came out in the beginning of 2020, when the pandemic started, and it sold more than they ever expected. It was like 3 times the sales they expected because everybody was stuck inside home.
Yeah,
and they bought Doom Returnal.
I forgot. Yeah, that's because it released on the same day as Animal Crossing. I forgot about that.
Yep.
And then the reboot was in 2016. So they've made 2 games in the last few years. Switching gears, we just talked about a movie being made based off of a video game. So let's talk about video games based off of movies. So, there is a story that Respawn is getting to make 3 Star Wars games. They're going to make the next Jedi game because they made Jedi Fallen Order. They're going to be making an FPS, which they've done Titanfall and Apex. So, I mean, they're well versed in FPSs. So
they got the FPS locked down. If you ask me, Titanfall 2's campaign is probably one of the top tier FPS shooter campaigns. It's a pretty damn good game.
Yeah, and then they are partnering with Bit Reactor, which is a studio made of former XCOM developers, on a Star Wars strategy game.
That one is intriguing because I'd like to see a Star Wars XCOM like game. I'd be about that.
I've never played XCOM myself, but I was a huge fan of Mario and Rabbids, which is in a very similar XCOM style.
I, too, have never played XCOM, and I, too, have played Rabbids, and it was phenomenal. Mario Rabbids was so much fun, and I also played Gears Tactics, which is also XCOM style. Gears Tactics was a lot of fun. So I have a little experience in those type of games. I like the tactical style to that game. To those games. Style of games.
Yeah. So, I just... the FPS is great. I'm not the best at FPSs, so as long as there's a campaign, I'll play it. I don't know that I'm going to play I don't know that I would play the multiplayer side if it is multiplayer. I'd definitely play the campaign if there's the campaign. I am interested in the XCOM. I'd try the XCOM style game. But I just want to know what's going on with Cal and that team.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order 2. Give me my Star Wars Dark Souls game. I need my sequel. Yeah. And supposedly it might get announced around May 4th this year. Or May the 4th be with you. Yeah, it's May 4th.
Yeah. So I will say I got very close to 100%ing that game, and then I just decided to stop because of the map.
It's awful.
I hope they fix the map.
Yeah, I put hours and hours into looking throughout that map. I was very persistent. There's multiple times where I put the controller down for a day or two and came back because of how trash that map is. Like, to be able to navigate through it was awful.
It's very similar to the Metroid Prime map in the fact that it's got that 3D, like, rotary style to it. And the thing with Metroid is they didn't have the, locations of the items and everything in it. Like, they didn't have the topography. They're just like, here's this room, here's this room, here's this room. And in that way, it's a little bit better. But then again, when you go to the collectathon part of it, it's like, okay, so where am I? I'm missing, 3 missile expansions. Where am I supposed to go? So in that aspect, that map wouldn't work. But yeah, just having the full topography and locations and everything, in addition to it being 3D and you having to try to find where you're at, is not good.
Yeah, I spent so much time trying to get all those collectibles, and there's not a good journal entries or like records of what collectibles you got. I wasn't very good at telling you. It's just all around that part of it. Everything else was pretty good. Else was pretty good. But when it came to those collectibles, whoo-wee, that was frustrating. Such a minor thing, so that's why it doesn't get minus so many points. But that was a good story. It was a great ending. There's a lot of rumors that he's going to show up in Boba Fett, I guess. So
really,
that sounds so dope.
The other thing I really liked, and it's somewhat related to the game, but not really, is there's a YouTube channel called JT Music, and 2 of my favorite songs they've done are Star Wars related, and one of them is related to Jedi Fallen Order. And there's one line in particular that every time I hear it, I'm like pumping my fist. I'm like, yeah, and it goes, what was it? He's talking to Palpatine essentially, like in the lyrics of the song, and he goes, "You missed me, bitch." But yeah, I recommend checking out JT Music's song about that. They also have Mandalorian, and it's that song is called "One Hell of a Dad," and it's a great song.
Oh man, I can only imagine.
We rushed through that,
yeah, we did we did do that pretty quick, but still some fairly good news stories. So I mean, E3, if E3 happens, we'll have the rumors are going to start building and building. Some people announce things ahead of time. We'll start being able to talk about who's going to actually show up, what conferences are actually happening. There's going to be a lot of buzz between the months of March till June when it actually goes down.
Yeah, so
I love the rumors. Give me talking about some rumors. I love rumors.
Yeah, I enjoy rumors too. But just so we have a little bit of, I have an idea for our post show. And for the audience, I am working on updating our Patreon. So I'll be giving you that link eventually, and I'll be doing a more set intro and everything, as well at some point. It's a whole process, just work with me here.
It takes time. It really does.
So, Because I have an idea for a post show, why don't we discuss like what we've been playing or what we're planning on playing this week or anything like that?
All right, okay. I've been a little bit all over the place. I've been playing Demon Souls. I've made some really good progress. I think I'll be able to beat that game fairly soon. Hopefully I can beat Demon Souls before Dying Light 2 comes out, February 4th, just around the corner. And then I've got, I'm playing Apex Legends. I switched back over from Call of Duty to Apex. I needed something with a ranked mode. And Warzone was not cutting it, so I cut Warzone out, put Apex in, and I'm just kind of warming up really in Apex before I started hopping into the ranked. And they also have a new season just around the corner, so really it's just a warm up to that new season.
Yeah,
but the real games are coming here in this next month. Next month, it's an onslaught of video games, like an absolute onslaught. February 4th, Dying Light 2. February 8th, Shifu and Apex Legends new season. A week after is Horizon Forbidden West. That's going to be a can't miss game for me. And a week after that is Elden Ring, man. My pockets are screaming at me.
And you forgot one. It's not coming out in February, but it might as well be because it's coming out on Saturday the 29th. And that is Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's not in February, but it might as well be. It's at the tail end of January.
Arceus? Am I saying that right? Arceus?
I think it's Arceus.
Yeah.
I'd have to actually go back and watch the movie. Like, everyone's saying it different ways. The anime has a movie based on that particular Pokemon. So people can just reference that. It's just getting a hold of that movie.
A lot of good buzz on that. A lot of good buzz.
I've heard good things. So that's what I'm planning on playing. I've been playing. I did a lot of the Halo Infinite campaign this week. And that was on stream. I've been streaming it. And I'm planning on streaming Pokemon as well. So I'm going to hopefully finish that Sunday. And then Monday start on Pokemon and see how that is. I do like they're talking about, I like and dislike, I should say. They're talking about this game really focuses on the gotta catch 'em all tagline. And that's the part I particularly enjoy the most, is catching the Pokemon rather than the battles.
Filling out that Pokedex.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is, from what it sounds like, is, the whole story is basically this is the start, like, Pokeballs have just been invented, so, like, there's not a lot of people with Pokemon yet. And, because of that, I guess there's a lack of NPC battles, particularly towards the end.
Well, I heard there's also some pretty cool post-game content as well. Like unique stuff that you're not normally doing through the rest of the game.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not a big fan of the battles, but the battles are a nice change of pace, so I don't know how I feel about there being, like, having played the game myself, I don't know how how that plays out between the games and everything. How the balancing is on the gameplay aspect of it.
It's gonna be interesting to see if it's gonna be worth the time. I'm excited. I don't know. I'm a little nervous that it's gonna just be another grind fest, but I can't wait to hear what you say about it.
Yeah, so that's my plan. Eventually, I plan on playing, again, I've mentioned I haven't had a PlayStation in a couple generations because just lack of funds to get it. But I am planning on, because of that, getting Gears of War and Horizon on PC at some point and playing through those. I don't know if it'll be on stream or not, but I'm hopefully going to get into those franchises sooner rather than later.
Very nice.
But yeah, I ended up creating a whole GG, like a GG account, so I can track the games and everything. I also, like I usually do, I get I've dipped my toes. Like I do it like at least once a month. I've dipped my toes into Stardew again.
I've never played it. I know so much about it without ever playing it.
It is such a relaxing game. I have this idea that I want to do. And I guess I'll discuss it here because I don't know when I'm ever going to do it. And, competition's great. So if you steal the idea from me, whatever. I'm still planning on doing it eventually. Okay. But I want to do this. I have this idea of doing like almost a role play style let's play of it, where it's a mockumentary like The Office, where it's like you're doing the thing and the story is in the game, so I don't have to worry about how do I work this into the game, this story beat into the game or whatever. I'll just use the game story, and then it's going to be a multiplayer game because like that's going to be the best way of doing it. But like me and these other players, we have our confessionals or whatever where we're discussing like the other farmers or the townsfolk or whatever, and just doing like a mockumentary, like Office style thing like that.
That's pretty unique.
Yeah. I've looked into like I've been looking into, do we do like, established characters, like our take on established characters? Like I found out you can flat out make Master Roshi in that game. You can make, they have outfits for you to be Mario, Luigi, Link. Like those are set outfits you can choose at the beginning of the game that are very similar to those characters. And it's like, okay, I know what you're doing here.
Yeah, they're trying to be subtle.
So, do I go with that, or do I make my own character and then we make our own characters and go from there?
When Master Yoshi's involved, it's like not really up for debate.
I just don't know if I could do that voice, and B, I don't know that I want to play a giant pervert like that.
Yeah, that's okay. I could see where that could get weird.
Especially with, Master Roshi also being a little bit of a pedophile.
For sure.
Japan, the age of consent is 13, so for us it's cringe, but for them it's like, okay, well, it's legal.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah. Japan is very antiquated with their laws. They have not caught up to the rest of the civilized world in regards to a lot of social issues like that.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's yikes for me.
Yeah. In most of the world, so they'll get there hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, on that note.
Yeah, on that note.
If you liked this podcast, on YouTube, youtube.com/the XofPlays, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. On the other podcast platforms, we're still only on Google and Spotify as of right now.
Spotify's the GOAT, though, so it's okay.
Yeah. Rate. I know Spotify just started doing like the 5-star ratings. Rate it 5 stars. I don't care what you say about the podcast, but at least give us a chance to move up in the algorithm so other people can hate us too.
Yeah, it's a good point. Give everybody else a chance to hate us.
So yeah, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, rate us 5 stars, and thank you for listening / watching. I hope you enjoyed.
Much appreciated, guys.
See you guys next time.